today I'm going to read to you a story called Chrysanthemum, written by Kevin Hinks.
I watched it.
You did? You've seen this before? Okay, and Kevin Hinks is the author. What does the author do? Do you remember what the author does? Raise in your hands.
Makes a book.
Writes the story, right? The author writes the story. Good. And this is a great story. This story is about a little mouse, a young mouse, who loves her name. She thinks her name is long and beautiful. Until one day she goes to school and a little girl named Victoria and her friends start teasing her about her name. And I want you, as I read the story, I want you to think about how that would make you feel. And I want us to really listen to see what happens at the end and how Chrysanthemum feels at the end of the story. Okay? Think about how she feels at the end of the story and why. Chrysanthemum. The day she was born was the happiest day of her parents' lives. She's perfect, said her mother. Absolutely, said her father. And she was. She was absolutely beautiful. Her name must be everything she is, says her mother. Her name must be absolutely perfect, said her father. And it was. Chrysanthemum. Her parents named her Chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum grew and grew and grew, and when she was old enough to appreciate it, Chrysanthemum loved her name. Those of you sitting in your desk, get still. She loved the way it sounded when her mother woke her up, and she loved the way it sounded when her father called her for dinner. And she loved the way it sounded when she whispered it to herself in the bathroom mirror. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum loved the way her name looked when it was written with ink on an envelope. She loved the way it looked when it was written with icing on her birthday cake. And she loved the way it looked when she wrote it herself with her big fat orange crayon. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. So how does Chrysanthemum feel about her name right now? Raise your hand. Chrysanthemum thought her name was absolutely perfect, and she started school. On the first day, Chrysanthemum wore her sunniest dress and her brightest smile, and she ran all the way. Hooray, said Chrysanthemum, school! How does Chrysanthemum feel about the first day of school?
Happy.
Winter, how do you think Chrysanthemum feels?
Happy and very, very excited.
And very excited. Good. But when Miss Chud took roll call in the morning, everyone giggled upon hearing Chrysanthemum's name. Dawn, here. Evie, here. Lois, here. Al, here. Les, here. Kay, here. Max, present. Sue, here. Bill, here. Pat, here. Victoria, here. Chrysanthemum, ha ha ha. Is that nice?
No.
It's so long, said Joe. It scarcely fits on your name tag, said Rita. It scarcely fits on your name tag. Scarcely, you know what that means? That means it barely fits. Just barely. Almost, but almost not. Say the word scarcely. Say scarcely. Scarcely. Like someone scarcely made it to school on time. Just barely made it, right? So I'm named after my grandmother, said Victoria. And you're named after a flower. Chrysanthemum wilted. What does that mean? If she wilted, how does she feel? Sad. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. She's changed the way she feels about her name. Why does she change the way she feels about her name all of a sudden?
People don't like it.
Because other people don't like it. So because somebody else doesn't like it, now she doesn't like it. It makes me sad. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and informed Mrs. Chudd that Chrysanthemum's name was spelled with 13 letters. That's exactly half as many letters as there are in the entire alphabet, Victoria explained. Thank you for sharing that with us, Victoria, said Mrs. Chudd. Now put your head down. They have nap time. Do you think Victoria and Rita, do they sound like they're very nice girls?
No.
Very nice. If I had a name like yours, I'd change it, Victoria said, as the students lined up to go home. I wish I could, thought Chrysanthemum miserably. Welcome home, said her mother. Welcome home, said her father. School's no place for me, said Chrysanthemum. My name is too long. It scarcely fits on my name tag. And I'm named after a flower. Oh, pish, said her mother. Your name is beautiful and precious and priceless and fascinating and winsome, said her father. It's everything that you are, said her mother. It's absolutely perfect, said her father. Chrysanthemum felt much better after her favorite dinner of macaroni and cheese with ketchup.
Yes.
And an evening filled with hugs and kisses and the game parcheesi. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed that her name was Jane, and it was an extremely pleasant dream. So her parents kind of made her feel better, didn't they? Being home with her mom and dad and eating her favorite foods, it made her feel a little bit better, didn't it? Do you think she's going to have a better day at school? Do you think she's going to have a better day? The next morning, Chrysanthemum wore her most comfortable jumper. She walked to school as slowly as she could. She dragged her feet in the dirt. Chrysanthemum, 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 she wrote with her foot. Is she going to school excited like she was on the first day? No, she's not as excited to go to school
That's
anymore.
why she's walking really slow.
She's walking really slowly. She even looks like a flower, said Victoria, as Chrysanthemum entered the playground. Let's pick her, said Rita, pointing. Let's smell her, said Joe. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and said, a chrysanthemum is a flower, and it lives in a garden with worms and other dirty things. Thank you for sharing that with us, Victoria, said Mrs. Chudd. Now you put your head down. I just cannot believe your name, Victoria said as the students lined up to go home. Neither can I, thought Chrysanthemum miserably. Victoria is still being really mean, isn't she? Welcome home, said her mother. Welcome home, said her father. School's no place for me, said Chrysanthemum. They said I even look like a flower. They pretended to pick me and smell me. Oh, pish, said her mother. They're just jealous. And envious and begrudging and discontented and jaundiced, said her father. To be envious and jealous. You know what it means to be envious and jealous?
I know what jealous means.
Winter, what does jealous mean?
It means that you wish that you could be like the other and you don't want to say it because you're too embarrassed.
Sometimes.
So you make fun.
That's a really good answer. To be jealous is to be envious. They mean the same thing. And to be jealous of somebody means that they have something or they possess something that you want to be like. Okay? And sometimes it's not a good feeling to be jealous because sometimes it makes you feel ugly inside. And we don't want to feel that way because we're all beautiful. Okay? So Chrysanthemum's mom and tell her, well, maybe that girl Violet doesn't like your name because maybe she's just jealous of your name, right? Maybe you have such a beautiful name and she wants one, right? That's what it means to be envious and jealous. Who wouldn't be jealous of a name like yours, said her mother. After all, it's absolutely perfect, said her father. Chrysanthemum felt a trifle bit better after her favorite dessert, which was chocolate cake with buttercream frosting. And another evening that was filled with hugs and kisses and the game Parcheesi. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed that she really was a chrysanthemum. She sprouted leaves and petals, and Victoria picked her and plucked the leaves and petals one by one until there was nothing left but a scrawny little stem. It was the worst nightmare of Chrysanthemum's life. It's a bad dream. Chrysanthemum wore her outfit with 7 pockets the next morning, and she loaded the pockets with her most prized possessions and her good luck charms. Chrysanthemum took the longest route possible to school. She stopped and stared at each and every flower. Chrysanthemum, 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 the flowers seemed to say. That morning, the students were introduced to Mrs. Twinkle, the music teacher. Her voice was like something out of a dream, as was everything else about her. The students were speechless. They thought Mrs. Twinkle was an indescribable wonder. They went out of their way to make a nice impression. Mrs. Twinkle. So the kids really like her, don't they? Yeah, they're really impressed by her. Mrs. Twinkle led the students in scales, and then she assigned roles for the class musical. Victoria was chosen as the dainty fairy queen. Rita was chosen as the spiffy butterfly princess. Joe was chosen as the all-important pixie messenger. And Chrysanthemum was chosen to be a daisy. Do you know what a daisy is?
Yes.
What's a daisy?
Flower.
It's a kind of flower. So of course they choose Chrysanthemum to be the flower. Chrysanthemum's a daisy, chrysanthemum's a daisy, Joe and Rita and Victoria chanted, thinking it was wildly funny. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect, and she thought it was absolutely dreadful. What's so humorous? Asked Mrs. Twinkle. Chrysanthemum was the answer. Her name is so long, said Joe. It scarcely fits on her name tag, said Rita. And I'm named after my grandmother, said Victoria, and she's named after a flower. My name is long, said Mrs. Twinkle. It is, said Joe. And my name would scarcely fit on a name tag, said Mrs. Twinkle. It would, said Rita. And, said Mrs. Twinkle, I'm named after a flower, too. You are, said Victoria. Yes, said Mrs. Twinkle. My name is Delphinium. Delphinium Twinkle. And if my baby is a girl, I'm considering Chrysanthemum as a name because I think Chrysanthemum is absolutely perfect. Chrysanthemum could scarcely believe her ears. She blushed. She beamed. She blew. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. What has changed? How does Chrysanthemum feel all of a sudden?
Happy.
Why? What happened? Why does she all of a sudden feel good about her name?
Because
Hannah?
I know. Name after a flower.
Because this beautiful teacher that everybody looks up to is also named after a flower. What do you think that makes Victoria think?
Good.
How do you think that mean girl feels now?
Good.
You think she feels good? I don't know. Joe, Rita, and Victoria looked at Chrysanthemum longingly, almost jealous. They looked a little jealous. Call me Marigold, said Joe. Well, I'm Carnation, said Rita. Well, then my name is Lily of the Valley, said Victoria. They all want to be named after what? Flowers. Chrysanthemum did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She knew it. She knew it was perfect. The say what she said to Chrysanthemum? Do you know why she did that? Winter?
Because she wanted, whatever her name is, to feel better.
She wanted Chrysanthemum to feel better about her name, didn't she? And to Chrysanthemum, she did. She felt a lot better about her name. And I want you to think about the things about yourself, okay? Don't let somebody else, when you feel good about yourself and you know that you're smart and you know that you're beautiful and you know you're funny and you know you're awesome, you're not going to let somebody on the playground tell you something and make you think different, are you? No, you're not going to let somebody tell you if they say you're ugly. I'm not ugly. I know I'm pretty. You're dumb. No, you're not. You know you're smart. So no matter what, somebody can say something to you, but you don't believe it, right? You know